Welcome back to the channel and to another video. I'm Cullen Bango, this is Dad Mod Gaming, and in this video we're going to characterize all of the main characters in God of War Ragnarok. We're going to be looking at internal conflicts, we're going to be looking at external conflicts, we're going to be looking at character motivations, we're going to be looking at their relationships and how all of these things come together in a nice little package to tell the narrative of this epic story. We're going to be looking at Kratos, we're going to be looking at Atreus, we're going to be looking at Freya, we're going to be looking at Mimir, you know, the head. We're going to be looking at Thor the Thug and Gangster Odin. This is part one of my characterization of all the main characters in God of War Ragnarok. Let's get into it. All right, let's get started with the first opening scene of the game. All right, you have Kratos sitting in a cave. He's waiting on Atreus to bring home some dinner, okay? And he is in deep thought. He whips out this satchel. We don't know what it is. I'm assuming it's going to be maybe some ashes that he left over from, you know, part one, you know, game number one. Of his deceased wife. Maybe he's reflecting on her. We don't know as the player. We don't know what's in the satchel, but that's what's, you know, led to believe that it's his deceased wife. Kratos, he's a much deeper character than he was in God of War 1, 2, and 3, and I'll get into that in a second. But he's waiting on Atreus, and you see him troubled somehow. You see him really thinking about, I think, his life up to that point. And all he cares about right now is keeping his son safe. That's all he wants to do. That's his only goal, okay? Now, let's not forget, Kratos had a daughter, okay? And he killed her. In a fit of rage, tricked by Ares, we learned in the original God of War, he goes into a village, he ransacks it, destroys everything, and ends up killing his wife at the time and his daughter Calliope. That's how he becomes the ghost of Sparta. He gets their ashes imprinted onto his skin. That's why his skin is super white. It looks bleached, and there you have it. And it's a, you know, a reminder of the atrocities that he caused being a servant of Ares. Is the background story of the original God of War, which is unbelievable, by the way. If you think about that, it's crazy. So Kratos is in the cave, and he's thinking about maybe his life. He's thinking about his, you know, his deceased ex-wife, the mother of his son, and all he cares about right now is keeping his son safe. And he knows his son is reckless. He alludes to that in the first game. He knows his son is developing these powers. They don't understand what these powers are. They don't know what he can do. They don't know what he's capable of. But what they do know is that he's a little unstable, just like Daddy.
Anything. They overcame you. That is why we must not abandon your training. We do not know the reach of your abilities. It would be dangerous without discipline to control them.
So Kratos focuses on his training, and he says, look, Atreus, you have to train to master your powers, so pretty much you're not a threat to yourself. So he's protecting him in multiple ways. He's protecting him, you know, in the physical world, okay, from whatever dangers they come across. And he's also protecting Atreus from himself, because we've seen in God of War 2018, the kid loses it from time to time. Kid goes nuts, just like Daddy. And Kratos sees himself in Atreus, and that frightens him for the kid's own safety. Another thing that crossed my mind is maybe Kratos is thinking of the prophecy of his own death that they saw at the end of God of War 2018. I saw it, you saw it, we all saw it. We're like, what is this? And it's funny, at the end of that game, you see the sheet blowing in the wind, it's flapping, and you see out of the bottom left-hand corner, you see him laying there with Atreus holding him, and the prophecy is that he is going to die somehow, okay? Now, Kratos has said multiple times that he doesn't believe in prophecy. I mean, look at God of War 2. Okay, when the whole premise of that is changing your fate when he fought the Sisters of Fate, which is a phenomenal game. I've said it before. If you haven't played the original God of War 2, and especially God of War 3, you're missing out. Guy, go play those. Turn this video off. Go play those right now. Okay, those games are phenomenal. You know, it's funny. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about the opening to God of War 3. I don't think there's a better opening to a game. You know, the way that game opens up, that whole opening scene when you're fighting Poseidon, it's epic. The whole thing is epic, okay? Maybe Kratos is thinking about that. Now, you know, luckily for us, Kratos doesn't believe in prophecies. He's like, the hell with that. Yeah, I've changed my fate once, I'll do it again. And how many times has Kratos died? He died in God of War 1. He died in God of War 2. I mean, in God of War 2, Zeus shanked him with the sword. Boop, right in the gut. He still has a scar. You see it. This guy's cheated death so many times. I remember in God of War 1, you climb out of hell. You climb right out. I remember you got to go through that level. That level's hard, by the way. You got to climb right out of there. You know, and then you come out of the grave. The guy's digging the grave. You're like, what? How does he end up here? But anyway. He's cheated death so many times, this guy, okay? Who's to say he dies now? Who's to say? I mean, he's died countless times. I think in God of War 3, he falls into the river, what is it, the river Styx? That's it, yeah, the river Styx. He falls into that, you lose all your powers, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know, right after that epic opening scene. So, you know, me as the player seeing this, I kind of take it with a grain of salt, okay? He could die, but then, you know, they can bring him right back. Say he dies at the end of the game. I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet. I think I'm just approaching the midpoint, but I'm still pretty early on, I think. But this guy's died so many times. They say they kill him at the end of the game. He can come right back. He's Kratos. The guy doesn't die. But anyhow, maybe he's thinking about that. Now, there are dynamic characters and there are static characters, okay? Dynamic characters are characters that change over time. Now, they can change in very little ways, and even if they change at all, that makes them a dynamic character. And then you have static characters. Usually static characters are, you know, secondary characters kind of like, you know, left in the background, so to speak. You kind of get that in this game with Brock and Sindri. Although, I mean, we have gotten some backstory with them, but their motivations are always the same, Brock and Sindri. So I would consider them static characters. Now, what I want to talk about is, would you consider Kratos, leave a comment down below, would you consider Kratos a dynamic character or a static character? Okay? Let's look at the fine details. In God of War 1, 2, and 3, Kratos is hell-bent on vengeance. That's all he cares about. He wants vengeance against Ares in the first game. He wants vengeance against Zeus and all the other gods in God of War 2 and 3. That's why he changes his fate in God of War 2. That's why he goes after them in God of War 3. He is hell-bent on vengeance. That's all he wants. So that being said, I would consider Kratos a static character in God of War 1, 2, and 3. In God of War 4, or I like to call it God of War 4 because it really is. In God of War 2018, he becomes a dynamic character right off the bat because he has new motivations. He is protecting his son. We find out he, you know, has a new wife and she passed away. And all he cares about is honoring the memory of his wife and taking this journey with his son. So right there, boom, that makes him a dynamic character. Through and through. What I really enjoyed in God of War 2018 is the simple fact that he becomes a real father. It's hinted in the first 3 games that he wasn't really a father figure. And now he's kind of stepped into that role. They humanize him. And they give him that depth They give him that emotion. Kratos isn't really an emotional guy except for being angry and cutting people up. In God of War 2018, we see that human element in him, and that makes him dynamic. So people could argue, like, oh, maybe he is static because he's still, being violent and, destroying things, disrupting life, all the things that he's done in the past. He's kind of doing the same thing now. But why I would label him dynamic and why he's changed over time is he went from being someone just corrupted by vengeance to someone who now is focused on being a good dad, and we as the players see that more human side of it. Because let's not forget, Kratos is a demigod. Okay, his father was Zeus, yeah, but his mother, we don't really know much about her. His mother was human, so he's half god, half human. So I like that they really showcase the human parts of his character. All right, my overall feeling right now in the beginning of the game, because what I'm doing with this series is there's going to be 3 parts. Part 1 is all the characters' relationships, their conflicts, external and internal, their motivations. We're going to look at that right now in the beginning of the game. We'll revisit that mid-game and see where they're at in terms of their relationships and their conflicts. And then finally, at the end of the game, we'll see where they end up. But this is part 1 of the character characterization. So how do I feel about Kratos' character development thus far? I think it's great. I think it's outstanding what they did with him. They took a character just, hell-bent on vengeance. That's all he was about. And now they took those qualities and they completely built upon that. They built upon his anger and his vengeance and those strong, characteristics that Kratos already has. And they built a human element around him with Atreus, with his deceased wife, even Freya in God of War 2018. She helped him, and, he in turn helped her, and, it didn't go so well in the end of that game, but he built up a friendship with her. You see the human side of Kratos. It's a nice development to his character. And I just want to see that grow from here. We don't want to change what makes Kratos Kratos, being, angry, because it's great to play as him as the player, but building that human element on top of that really gives him a lot of depth, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing where he ends up, mid-game and at the end of this game. All right, let's get into Atreus. We met Atreus in God of War 2018. He was a little boy, okay? We knew him as Boy for the longest time. Boy. It was funny as hell. But Atreus is not a boy no more, okay? He's earned the respect of his father. As the players, we assume that based on the events of God of War 2018, Kratos has developed a certain level of respect for his son as a warrior, based upon his performance, I guess, in this first game in this series. Kratos, you notice, he doesn't call him boy anymore, and that's big for this game, because there were memes out there for Kratos calling him boy, people calling each other boy. It's hysterical. But you notice that doesn't happen anymore. That word is not even really used in this game. That identifies Kratos as having a certain level of respect for his son, which is big coming from Kratos because he's a hot ass through and through. So Atreus' motivations. Atreus I would consider to be a dynamic character because in the first game he's focused on the journey of launching his mother's ashes from the highest peak in the realms, and that's what his sole focus was. And now in this game, he is focused on finding out who he really is, who Loki really is, and he's trying to find the meaning of his life, so to speak. Really, this story is just as much about Atreus as it is Kratos. That's the impression I get right in the beginning, because the journey that they're going on, or the path as they call it, is finding out who Atreus really is, who Loki really is, and that's what Atreus is focused on. Now, we know Atreus could be a little angry, just like Daddy. And now he's developing these newfound powers that we don't really know about. Like, he walks up to things, he touches them, and things light up when he's around them. He has his bow, he shoots his little arrows. Like, the kid has some kind of power. We don't know what it's about yet, but him being angry the way he is dangerous for him. That's how Kratos feels. Once he masters his powers, then it's a different story. But for right now, Atreus' anger might get him in some kind of trouble because he doesn't understand his own power yet. And that's what Kratos is worried about. Okay? So you have Atreus focusing on who he is in this game, making him a dynamic character. His internal conflicts, let's talk about that for a minute. He disobeys his father. And I mean, you better think twice before disobeying a guy like Kratos, okay? This guy's nuts. But he disobeys his father. And he knows he does it, and he chooses to do that. And that is an inner conflict he has within himself, because he wants to find out who he is, and he doesn't care about what his father thinks in that respect. He needs to find out who he is. That's what his calling is. What is his connection to the giants? His mother was a giant. What's his connection there? Okay, who is Loki? Why did the giants call him Loki? What is Loki about? Is Loki a name? Is Loki a thing? He doesn't know, and he's determined to find out why the giants called him Loki. So he'll do anything to get the answers. So Atreus battles within himself. Should I listen to my father? Should I not? And I'm gonna say this now. I was gonna save it for a little later in this segment, but I'm gonna say it now. Atreus has the Anakin Skywalker vibe. Now, how do you relate Atreus to Anakin Skywalker? Everyone knows who Anakin Skywalker is. He's Darth Vader, falls to the dark side, and you know the story of Star Wars. The best story ever told, by the way. I could directly relate Atreus to Anakin Skywalker. He might not end up like Anakin Skywalker. Might not end up like him, but he has the same qualities as Anakin Skywalker. He's defiant toward his father, his mentor, just like Anakin Skywalker was, because Anakin Skywalker wanted to kind of find out who he is and what he's about. And then, in the same breath, when Anakin Skywalker, another dynamic character, found out, when he had that vision about the death of his wife, and that led him to join the dark side, is there some kind of event that's going to lead Atreus astray, so to speak, that we haven't come up to yet in the beginning of the game? He has the same qualities as Anakin Skywalker. He's defiant. He's rebellious. He defies authority. The dark side I sense in you, boy. So, we don't know how the story's going to unfold for Atreus yet. But just as much as this story is about Kratos, it's just as much about Atreus, if not even more so about Atreus. Because we don't know where he's going to end up. Is his anger going to get the better of him? Is he going to become uncontrollable? Does he end up killing his father? Let me know what you think in the comments below. You think he kills his father at the end? You think he has to kill his father at the end for some reason? Does he have to make that choice? Does he fall to the dark side? We don't know. But it leads us to believe that there is some kind of darkness in Atreus. And Kratos knows it's there, and it needs to be controlled. Atreus, being focused on finding out who he is, clouds his judgment. The boy's future is unclear.
Scared about your future.
That cannot be my future. It says I serve Odin and my father dies. There's just no way.
Look, this is the only way things turn out. The sooner you accept that, the better.
That determination to find out who he is clouds his thinking. And that's what Kratos is worried about. And Atreus doesn't care. He just wants to find out who he is, and he'll do whatever he has to get there. And we don't know if that's going to be the fall of who he is as a person. We don't know if it's going to be the physical downfall or fall of his father. But it's very interesting to see Atreus at this point because he's not a little boy anymore. He is skilled, he is accomplished, he is a warrior, and Kratos trusts him with his life. Whereas in the first game, Kratos kind of looked at him as a liability. Let's be real, calling him boy all day long. He's really calling him Mr. Liability. Okay, I got to do this, I got to drag you along because I want to honor your mother, etc. But in this game, he views his son very differently. He has respect for him, but he's afraid for him because he's kind of protecting him from himself. All right, let's get into Freya. Freya's a great character. She is a great character because she is Kratos as his younger self. What do I mean? Kratos was hell-bent on revenge in God of War 1, 2, and 3. What's Freya doing now? All she wants is revenge against Kratos for killing her son. And she wants revenge against Gangster Odin, which I'm going to get into in a minute. You don't want to miss that. Gangster Odin steals the show for me. But we're going to get into Gangster Odin and Doug Thor in a minute. Let's get through Freya. Freya's nice and quick, okay? But Freya is Kratos as his younger self. That's who she reminds me of, okay? She's hell-bent on revenge, okay? It clouds her judgment. She just wants to kill Kratos. That's what I see in the beginning of this game. Now, does that make her a static character, a dynamic character? She is definitely a dynamic character because in the first game, she saves Atreus' life. He gets sick, she saves him, she helps out Kratos. Then at the, fast forward to the end of the game, spoiler alert if you haven't played the first game, look away now. I'm warning you right here, spoilers. When she kills Baldur, when Kratos kills Baldur, okay, her son, right there makes her a dynamic character. Right there, she's hell-bent on revenge, just like Kratos was in God of War 1, 2, and 3. She's him. She illustrates his anger. Play God of War 1, 2, and 3. You see how Kratos looks in that game, in those games? He looks crazy. Look at Freya. She looks haunted. She's haunted by something. Just like Kratos was. Like Kratos, let's think about this. This thought just came to mind. Kratos accidentally kills his daughter, right? He loses it, path of vengeance. Freya loses her son the same way. I mean, she didn't kill her son, but Kratos killed her son, but maybe she did kill her son because he was ready to kill her at the end of that game. He was about to kill her, and Kratos saved Freya's life. She wanted, she was trying to, rekindle a love between her and her son, and if her death meant rekindling that love in her view, that's what she felt like she should do as a mother, and Kratos stole that from her. But she's just hell-bent on vengeance, and she's not really thinking about who she is. And one thing she's not really thinking about, if she does kill Kratos, does it bring Baldur back? It doesn't. It doesn't bring him back. So will she still find peace after killing Kratos? I mean, I think we all know the answer to that. The answer is no, because, violence and vengeance like that, you're not going to find peace doing that. Let's be real. But that's what she's hell-bent upon, is vengeance, just like Kratos was. So when I see Freya in this game, it reminds me of old-school Kratos. Okay? And we get to kind of see as the players what his anger looks like in a different character, which is a really interesting thing to experience. What do you think is going to happen with Freya? Leave a comment down below. What's going to happen with Freya? What do you think is going to happen? Is she going to hook up with Kratos later? Like, is she going to, help him out? Is she going to try to kill him throughout the game? That might be interesting. As you progress through the game, you got to keep fighting Freya. That might be cool, too. We don't know. But what do you think is going to happen to Freya? I think eventually maybe she makes amends with Kratos in some way. That would really circle back her character. It would really, if you look at her, the arc of her character, she kind of maybe finds herself in a way. She kind of finds some peace and helps out Kratos later on. That would be a nice, element to her story. We don't know. Let me know what you think. But that's Freya. Freya is a young Kratos, through and through. That's the feeling I get anyway. Okay, the segment I've been waiting for. I've been waiting to talk about this, and I can't wait to talk about it. You got Thor the Thug and Gangster Odin. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and I'll tell you what, I say that in the best way possible. I love Thor, and I loved Odin, okay? I've listened to a lot of people on the interwebs, and, you know, a lot of people, you know, making fun of it a little bit, the way Odin was portrayed. I mean, I didn't see that coming when Odin came in. And you know, when you think of Odin, let's talk about Odin for a second. When you think of Odin, okay, I'm going to juxtapose him to Zeus, right? You see Zeus in God of War 3. He looks godly. I mean, he's the king of the gods, right? The god of, you know, is the god of lightning, right? He looks godly. He speaks godly. Odin talks like a G. He's a gangster. I feel like this Aesir is like the Aesir crime family. They operate like they're gangsters, okay? Let's think about what happens. You got Thor, okay, showing up at Kratos' house. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like a soldier coming to your house, like knock, knock, knock. Where's my money, or I'm going to take your kneecaps, okay? He shows up to his house, and, you know, it's funny what they do at the end of God of War 2018. You think a fight's going to break out. He takes out the hammer, the lightning's coming out. You're like, oh, it's about to go down, you know? Then all of a sudden he's like, let's talk.
Can I come in? I have meat.
Let's talk. I'm coming in. Let's have a word. So that's Thor coming in, right? The enforcer, the soldier. Odin sends him in first. So Thor goes in. They're eyeing each other up. The scene's great. They're eyeing each other up. Atreus is in the back, you know, not knowing what to do. You know, half shitting his pants. He has no idea what to do in the back, okay? He just sees Thor walking in. He's like, oh, we're in trouble here, Dad. Like, what we gonna do, you know? So he walks in. He pours a drink, takes out his drink, pours Kratos a drink, pours himself a drink, goes to give a drink to Atreus, and Kratos says, no, it's a funny moment. But he is the sit down. He is the sit down, okay? So Odin sends in Thor to get Kratos to sit down, and then Odin shows up and he walks in, and I didn't expect to have him look like that, this skinny little man walking in. Literally, you dress Odin up in a suit, he looks like a mobster, okay? Comes in and he offers something I've never seen in a video game, but I loved every minute of it. He offers him the parlay.
Retired God of War. How about we just don't kill each other? How about you stay home, kick up your feet, seek no quarrel with me, and I'll have none with you. Of course, it means that one has to stop his search for Tyr.
Yeah. We know what you've been up to. Stop it.
Tyr's old ways are dead. He is dead. You understand?
What is the parlay? The parlay is a gangster move where you sit down with someone who you're about to kill or about to mess up in some way, or you're about to take his kneecaps off, and you say, look, you know, I don't like you. You don't like me. Maybe we could talk about it so we don't have to take it to the next level. That's the parlay. I didn't see that coming. And I loved every second of it. I'm sitting there playing this game, and my eyes are glued to the screen. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I loved it. I loved it. Okay? Odin comes in, offers peace, but he's like, yeah, you know, we can have peace, but you got to stop doing what you're doing. This guy right here, he points at Atreus. This guy over here better knock it off. Stop looking for Tyr. You stop looking for Tyr, we're good. We leave you alone. And the best line in that scene is when Kratos just looks at him and goes, "Nah, I'm not doing that."
So what do you say?
No.
And in Kratos' mind, he's not having any kind of god come in and tell him what to do. Like Kratos killed all the gods in his world or his country or whatever, however, it relates to however the two worlds come together. He's going to listen to Odin? So he looks up at him and he stands up and he goes, "No," right to his face. My jaw literally hit the floor. I was like, this is cinematic magic right here. I loved every second of it. So then Odin, like a G, gets up and he's like, "Okay." Looks over at Thor. He goes, "Don't take too long. Do what you gotta do." Like he said, no. It's almost like you see like an Italian mobster. Didn't get what he wanted. He's not going to be the violent one. He's going to have his henchmen do it. And sure enough, Thor's like, "I've been waiting for this. Give me the green light." And he hits Kratos with the hammer, and the fight ensues. Which, I made a video about that. You should check that out, by the way. That was a great fight. I was kind of getting wrecked a little bit in the beginning, but we came through at the end. But it was a great fight. I mean, check that out. I got the video right there on the channel. I'll link it right at the end of this video. You'll love it. I loved every second of Odin. Okay, people were kind of disappointed in him, saying he wasn't godly. I thought it was refreshing that Odin wasn't godly. I loved every bit of it. Okay, I really, really enjoyed that scene. I thought so far for me in my playthrough of this game, that was the scene of the game for me so far. And I really hope we get more sit-downs with Gangster Odin, because I thought he was a great character. I really thought they did a great job with him. I mean, one other thing I will say is, he did say things like, "Oh, my ex," things like that. You wouldn't think to hear a god talking like that. But you know what? They modernized him a little bit. I didn't mind it at all. And I thought it was really refreshing to see, and it was a really enjoyable experience for me. Give me more Gangster Odin and Thug Thor. I'll take them all day. All right, and finally, let's do a little quick combo about Mimir. The head. It's just the head that's on Kratos' belt. We remember Mimir from God of War 2018. Kratos saves him in a way. The only way we can save him is to chop his head off and do a spell, and maybe it'll work. And boop, we got Mimir. I really like Mimir. I think he provides stability to Kratos. I think Kratos kind of looks up to him as a mentor in a lot of ways. He's always looking to him for advice. Mimir always kind of gives his 2 cents on things. And I really think he provides stability to Kratos in this unstable world. Because let's not forget, Kratos is a foreigner in this world, okay? He wasn't born here. He doesn't know the land. And Mimir acts as, Atreus is a guy too, but let's face it, Atreus is a teenager. And, we met him when he was younger, but now he's, a teenager or whatever. And as Kratos' son, he's not going to be listening to Atreus as much. Mimir is a nice addition to get the lore of the land. And he's like a fountain of knowledge about this world. And I really feel like his character adds a lot to Kratos' character and Atreus' character, but also to the player, because he gives us all this background. And the way Santa Monica Studios kind of weaves that background lore into the game, like when you're on the boat or you're on the little sleds and stuff, like a little dog sled. It's a really nice addition to have Mimir there to kind of give the player the backstory to what's going on. I don't know what's happening with Mimir. I don't know how he's going to really change throughout the game. I would consider Mimir a static character because he really has no clear motivations other than providing knowledge and helping Kratos. It's also great when you're in battle and he's like, to the left, brother, to the right, brother, up, brother, scratch your ass, brother. I mean, the guy's hysterical. I mean, brother this, brother that. You know, it's funny. They went from boy to brother in this game. But I really enjoy Mimir. I think he's a real solid character to have in this game, just for lore purposes. So there you have it. Part 1 of my God of War Ragnarok Characters Characterized series is in the books. Again, I'm going to be doing another one of these videos at the middle of the game, another one at the end of the game. I really enjoyed making it. I really love these God of War games. I really consider them pillars in my gaming lineage, so to speak. I think Kratos is a phenomenal character. I've always liked him since the first God of War, and I was really excited and really happy to make this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all future content. I really have a passion for these games, and I really hope it comes through in the videos I'm making. On this channel, I'm really looking to build a community of gamers who love first-person shooters, who love story-driven games, and or, you know, gamer dads like myself. And if you're not that, that's okay. I still welcome you to the channel. But I really enjoy everything on the channel so far. I really hope you enjoy it too. And thanks again so much for checking out the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one.